today's class, if you do not know the title, it's all about how to work with nitpicking. So if you feel like you nitpick your partner, if you feel like there's excessive nitpicking in your relationship, or if you feel like you sometimes nitpick, or you're not even really sure what nitpicking is, then this class is for you. We're going to be talking all about nitpicking in regards to ROCD, how you can identify it, and how you can work with it. So yeah, we'll start. I'm going to be co-leading this masterclass with Manon. If you don't know Manon, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself really quickly for the people who may not know you, Manon.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Manon from France. I'm the Awaken into Love COO and also a trained coach. I've been working at Awaken into Love for almost 3 years now and was in your shoes before as I was like a client of Kiyomi and Awaken into Love, suffering from ROCD for long years. And so now I'm working there and I'm very happy to be sharing some wisdom or like elements of my journey that can help you guys.
So nitpicking on a very simple term is an excessive critical, excessively critically, being excessively critical of others. So that's kind of basically the simplest term. So it's nitpicking others in terms of what they're doing, what they're wearing, how they're acting, all those type of things can be basically this excessive hypersensitivity toward what another person is doing. What's really interesting about nitpicking that a lot of people may not know is that usually what we are excessively critical of others is usually what we're excessively critical of ourselves. So when we're working with nitpicking, we're really working with a lot of our shadow pieces. And our shadow pieces are basically the parts of ourselves that we don't like, that we don't want to see, that we kind of put to the side, that we feel ashamed about, that tend to come out in partnerships and tend to become projected in partnerships. And that's why nitpicking can actually, even though it's uncomfortable, be this incredible pathway to really having more awareness on what we're actually feeling subconsciously. And I know that sometimes that could be triggering in terms of working with the subconscious and what we're really feeling, but it gives us more of this awareness to what we may be feeling about ourselves that gets constantly projected onto other people. So Manon, I don't know if you want to give a couple of examples about nitpicking, what that may look like for people who may be interested in what that may look like within themselves as well. It doesn't mean that you'll identify with this, but these are some ways that it can show up with ROCD.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I can definitely relate a lot with. And I think it's so common with our CD. That's definitely something that's so important to talk about. And that, so some examples can be like being very perfectionist and like obsessing about how your partner is talking, his tone of voice, the kind of vocabulary you use, especially like in public setting, how he comes up and how it comes off to other people. But that can be also more physical, like around like how he dress, how he looks, how much or not enough he takes care of himself according to your like inner little critic inside. And so yeah, as Kiyomi was saying, which is interesting, is that we see a lot of people that like nitpicking a lot their partner actually have the same very harsh critic towards themselves. So it's very interesting to see how these examples can redirect you towards your own inner critic. Yeah, usually. Yeah.
Thank you, someone that may be really focused on, and we can get really deep into this, but someone that may find appearance very important within themselves, or have been told by their caretakers that they were loved, even if it could be a subconscious message, may have a higher importance on placing that on their partner and what others may think. So it can definitely show up, as Manon was really talking about, in terms of trying to nitpick and change the way that our partner behaves, especially around public. And on a lot of terms, we see that with ROCD as this unconscious fear of what other people might think of us. So it's really interesting in that way. So nitpicking, yeah.
Yeah, can I just bring like quickly an example for me, because you talked about the appearance, and like I would have been seeing a lot with our members and also with myself, is like a big value in my family was like education, like having a degree and everything, and my partner doesn't necessarily have one. And so like for me, the nitpicking will like very much focus on like, how is he talking? Is he coming up like a bit dumb or like not very sophisticated enough? And so just to say that can be so different also, like whether it's the physical, whether it's like the mental, or even like the education and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk just briefly about why we nitpick. The first thing that I really want to say is that a lot of people with ROCD specifically and anxiety can feel a lot of shame and guilt when they go into nitpicking because they know it doesn't feel good, right? Like when we nitpick, there's this feeling of, oh, I want to change my partner, or there's something about my partner I don't like. I want to control this piece. And so a lot of times there can be a layer of shame and guilt on top of it. But I just want to say first and foremost that as humans, we all nitpick. We all do it. And it's a very unconscious thing that tends to happen unless we're very aware of it and we're understanding of what's going on, which is a big part of the work that we do at Awaken into Love. But a big part is really in our shadow, right? It's in the unconscious. And the reason as to why we nitpick is really on a deeper level, there's a fear that our needs are not going to get met. So as humans, of course, we have our needs, we have our wants, we have our desires in life, but there's also this fear of fundamental emotional needs, attachment needs that won't get met. So a lot of people who do a lot of excessive nitpicking tend to have attachment wounds where there's a deep fear that they're not going to get some need met. So they have to unconsciously or passively nitpick their partner to try to get that need met. So again, it's really does stem from this attachment wound, this insecurity where a person may feel out of control, a person may feel insecure that their needs are not going to get met, so they're going to nitpick. For one example, just because this can kind of be, kind of broad with what I'm talking about, if someone is nitpicking their partner and what they're saying in front of other people, they may have a fear deep down that the people around them are going to reject them. So that really comes down to this biological fear that they are going to be rejected in society, that they're not going to be a part of society. So again, it is very kind of fundamental in terms of our basic needs and how we try to get them met, but it tends to get projected when we're not aware of our projection. So that's a really, really big, important piece. And I'm just going to leave it at that for just a moment because I think a lot of people don't realize that as we kind of talk about nitpicking. Having that awareness is really, really powerful. Again, with the people who are just coming up, when we nitpick, we are believing on an unconscious way that our biological attachment needs will not be met. And it is unconsciously being projected onto our partner, fear that they're not going to meet our needs in some way. And because we feel that we can't communicate openly, right? A lot of us haven't also been taught how to communicate in partnership. We will tend to just nitpick instead. So yeah, Manon, anything you want to go based off of that?
Yeah, I think you stated like perfectly. I think there is this really wanting to control in a way that's like such a big like subcurrent of like the nitpicking. It's like when we're feeling out of control, and like the simplest way for us to try to get like the sense of control is to focus on external and what best than our partner traits, so characters, or physical or whatever. And that's an ability that we all have, as you were saying, like biological needs to also stay with this uncertainty. And so that makes a lot of sense that we kind of look at the easiest way to get a sense of control of something outside of us. And so, yeah, I would just add that this like control seeking is like so typical of this anxiety, like ridden behaviors, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the other part about nitpicking, and I don't know if you'll agree, Manon, is that we tend to see it being like a very common thing in our society that people usually don't pick up. Like what I mean by that is it's become such a norm to nitpick. And it's almost like we see it in couples where some partner might be like, oh, like why don't you ever do the dishes that way? Or like maybe you should change this, or maybe you should clean it in this way. And maybe you should tilt your hat that other way, kind of there's like an almost this like undertone of like hostility or like kind of like a control. And I feel like it's almost become a norm in certain ways, right? And again, as I said before, it's not anything to demonize within ourselves, that we all have that as human beings, when it would be easier to say, hey, maybe you should change your shoes, or hey, babe, you're kind of talking a little bit too loud in front of these people, maybe you should quiet down and let them talk, versus really expressing in those moments, wow, I'm noticing myself feeling insecure. I'm noticing myself feel insecure about X, Y, and Z, owning it within ourselves, doing the work within ourselves, or communicating with our partner. I think that's a little bit of a harder way, but something that, we teach here at Awaken into Love, and really that ownership for emotions. So with that being said, I know that there's a couple people here. I would love to hear in the chat, if possible, what type of nitpicking comes up for you guys? What do you guys see within yourself? Because a big part of working with nitpicking isn't necessarily how to stop it, right? As we talk about with Awaken into Love, we're not trying to control or stop what's going on, but more so to be aware of what happens, to give it more space. And when we give it more space, there's a couple things that can tend to happen. The first is that we might not feel so triggered by the things we want to nitpick. There can be a little bit more space. And the other part is that you might notice that you are not nitpicking as much because there's more of that allowance, there's more of that awareness. So again, having that awareness of the different things that you may do for nitpicking is really, really powerful. And it's something that I'm really going to invite you guys, if you would like to write in the chat, you're welcome to. If not, that's fine. But just thinking of this for a moment, in what ways do you feel you nitpick? That's going to be the first question. In what ways does it show up in ROCD? And in what ways do you feel like it might be a representation of something within yourself? We talked about this a little bit earlier. That could be the fear of others perceiving you a certain way, if your partner talks a certain way. It could be this fear of your partner not meeting your need if they're not doing X, Y, and Z all the time. So you nitpick instead of communicating and expressing what is there. So really taking a moment for all of you guys that are here and watching this to think about this for a moment. And then having awareness, this curiosity piece, right? This piece that comes in that says, this is not anything to be shameful about or guilty about, but more so something that I would like to observe, something that I would like to bring compassionate attention to. I'm not going to say names just because I'm going to keep it anonymous, but someone said, I'm really struggling with nitpicking in social situations. I find it hard to understand at first because I felt that I was pretty confident about my own social skills. But what you just said about fear of rejection in others makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, we have control like of our own self when we are just with our own self, if that makes sense. When we're with our partner and we've already been confident, it's like, oh my God, now my attention is my partner. How is my partner going to act? I know I am confident in my social setting, but how is my partner going to react? What are other people going to be thinking about in regards to my partner? I'm going to bring something up in regards to this person because I know this person. I'm pretty sure I know this person, but it also depends on cultures. Manon, I don't know if you see this within the French culture, but I know in different type of cultures, especially in social settings, if our partner might be a different culture or they might act differently from a cultural norm, we might actually nitpick even further. And that's very strong in the Asian culture, Japanese culture specifically. So that was something I really struggled with, Manon. I don't know if that comes up to you in a cultural way. I know your partner is also from France, but we've definitely seen that as well.
Yeah, I mean, like my partner's same culture as me, and like so it's I don't experience it as bad, but like definitely what I'm like noticing. What we often see is that in social settings, when you start like starting to nitpick because you're scared that if someone thinks something bad about a relationship, it's always interesting to see like what's the fear is saying. What are you scared of? Because I realized that at the end of the road, even if it's like so irritated at my partner, like nitpicking him all the time in social settings, if I really like almost like deconstruct the fear, it's like, what would your fear say? What would my fear say? And like, if someone thinks something bad about my relationship, it means that we're not supposed to be together. So it means I need to break up and I'm going to lose that person that I love and care about. So it's very interesting to see and almost like unravel the threads and see that it ties it back to our core wound, which is the fear of losing, being like, you know, like losing someone we love. So that was really high opening for me. So if it helps.
That's a great example, especially because I feel like that also gets sticky and gets tied into really the core part, which I love that you said, the fear of loss and the fear of trusting ourselves. So if we have a lot of emphasis on what other people may think, and we're afraid that they're going to tell us that we need to leave our partner, then that mirrors to us that we lack a self-trust, that we're most likely going to go into a lot of reassurance. We're most likely going to ask for external validation in regards to our partner because we don't trust our own decision. And so that can be a higher reason for why we nitpick, right? If we don't trust ourselves, we're going to nitpick even more because, like Manon brilliantly said, we're afraid of what other people may say about our relationship. And then we might be like, oh my God, I'm so triggered. I have to leave. They don't like them and all that type of stuff. So that definitely comes up for sure. Thank you for expressing that one. I've noticed that is worse on people who I think are judgmental. Totally. This person said, my girlfriend not being yin enough, not being soft enough, the fear of not respecting myself by choosing to be with a woman that can be too uptight and missing out on being yes, absolutely. There's so much in regards to polarity work I personally love when we're working with the yin and the yang and the masculinity and the femininity. And I know that it can be a complex topic in regards to working with just kind of the polarities and genders and stuff, but there is a power no matter what you identify as in regards to really a partner being a little bit more in their femininity and their masculinity, and really how that kind of tends to balance each other out, and how that can, you know, kind of change and shift in partnership. So that's a really, really interesting piece, but I can totally understand that for this person who expressed that. Thank you for expressing that. This person said, for me, it's when my partner expresses himself in a non-intellectual way, not deep enough, not correct enough. I think it's a fear of him not meeting my needs or having a partner completely attuned. Totally, absolutely. I feel like I could definitely relate to that, Manon, I would assume, because I know a lot of your background, that, and you've expressed this in the masterclass, so that's something that you can definitely relate to as well. Yeah. So that's a really great one. So the different things in regards to like the deepness that I've also noticed too, that can be kind of this blessing, is typically people who are craving for a deepness, tend to have partners that are a little bit more silly, that are a little bit more playful. And so that would be an interesting question to ask yourself for the person who asked this. This may resonate, this may not. Take you guys what resonates and what doesn't, but it may be interesting to ask yourself, if you feel as though you've been tapping into your playful, silly, kind of spontaneous side. What would it mean if you weren't deep all the time, or you weren't in that intense intellectuality? Because sometimes that deepness and that intellectuality can also be a protective part of ourselves, as alongside of a gift of ourselves. Manon and I can relate to that very much as well. The intellectuality and deepness being like a protective mechanism. Feel my partner's not romantic enough or does not give me attention when we're at a party. Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. And I'm curious the nitpicking piece with that, because, you know, we can bring out our triggers, but a great piece of the awareness can be, okay, in what ways is our behavior going into the nitpicking, right? That's that awareness piece. Manon, anything on your end? I'm just gonna look on.
Yeah, I was thinking that a big, I think I'm speaking like from personal experience, and to be really honest, it's something unraveling in my own life. It's like how this being aware that the nitpicking is actually a coping mechanism and something we do to get that sense of protection or control. I've kind of took that quote that I love, which is perfection is protection. And that's really what we project on our partner. I feel it's also this journey of like codependency, of like what we call at Awaken Inshallah wellness giveaway syndrome. It's like understanding that our partner can, for example, not please other, like be disliked by people we like and that like us, and not being it about us. And that's really hard because it feels a little bit like a death, like stuff being so engulfed with each other, and like recognizing that we're two different person, and someone not liking our partner doesn't mean that we're not likable and we can stay. And like it happened very recently. I'm just going to be quick on it, but like I think my neighbors at some point didn't really like my partner because he was expressing something in a way that maybe comes up a bit firm, and I felt it, and I felt so bad, and I saw like my wanting to please my neighbors coming up, and almost like feeling irritated at my partner, like can you just like be nice and please people, and like, and I was like, no, that's me, I love to people please, and I feel so uncomfortable and embarrassed when he shows up more like to the point, and I don't give a shit what they think about it. And it was a great like reminder that this work and even this nitpicking awareness help us like dissociate for our partner and exist independently and hold the tension that it can create when we like, okay, he's another person and I don't have control on that, but I still love him, even if someone I love don't actually love him. Wow. So that's hard, but that's actually such like an area of growth, I feel.
Such a great one. That's such a great one, and definitely something that I could definitely relate to in regards to that. Yeah, it shows a lot about our shadow parts, as I expressed in the beginning of this masterclass, which can be such a powerful journey. Not anything to necessarily, I'll give just a little bit of like a disclaimer, not anything to necessarily obsess about, like go deep, deep, deep constantly into finding our shadow pieces, but more so like this nitpicking can give us this opportunity. Another thing that I do want to address too, that can sometimes be confusing, especially in regards to having ROCD, is that sometimes the nitpicking is also saying something that could be expressed in our relationship, right? So it's never black or white. And I never want to give this black or white statement in Awaken into Love that says everything that comes up with nitpicking has to be your own inner work, right? So what I basically mean by that is that Awaken into Love, we really believe in ownership and taking ownership and understanding things are coming up as a trigger. If it's a trigger, it's something coming up within. But then we always have this opportunity to bring it to our partnership. So for example, this is where it gets sticky. So I'm going to just kind of lay this just softly. For example, if we are nitpicking constantly about our partner, maybe doing something that we are not so happy about, we can also address it in the relationship, right? So it can also be an opportunity to actually deepen into communication, into our creativity, into our voice, and to use our voice more. So nitpicking doesn't always have to be this thing where like, well, I'm nitpicking, this must be about me, this must be about me constantly. It is about ourselves, it is about our experience, but we can also have this opportunity to voice it to our partner and talk about our fears and talk about the things that are coming up, right? So I just did want to bring that up just in regards to that.
I love that. There is definitely this fine line. There's always those fine lines, right? It's like, yeah, finding the balance.
Exactly. This person said, nitpicking physical aspects of my girlfriend thinks she's not living up to my dream of the beautiful woman that I'm hoping. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, we can tell that a lot of the nitpicking parts have layers, right? Like they can have layers of grief, they can have layers of expectations. We may nitpick because we feel like we uphold this vision of a perfect person and we don't want to feel the grief of letting go of that expectation of our partner not meeting the sense of perfection. And so yeah, it can definitely be layers. So yes, great. So I think that that's it in regards to nitpicking. I'm not seeing anything else coming up. If you did enjoy this class, then I'm so glad. And Manon and I are also going to be leading some peer support classes together. So if you're liking the energy dynamic between Manon and I, and you're liking this kind of group environment, even though I'm not seeing people's faces right now and I'm not hearing people, we're going to be starting our peer support class not next week, in 2 weeks. So that'll be a beautiful chance for you guys to come up, express what's coming on your hearts. We'll have conversations just like this in regards to different type of things that you're going through. So yeah, it's going to be really powerful. Thank you. Crystal is linking the Awaken into the Peer Home support at the bottom. If you guys have any questions, we'll actually take the next couple of minutes for any questions that may be coming up in regards to home. Unless, Manon, there's anything else that I missed.
It's all good. Like, yeah, very excited about having this new container opening very soon. We start actually on August the 5th at 11 a.m. But after, like, the session will be weekly for 1 hour with Kiyomi and I at the beginning, and then either or we'll like switch like a little bit. And yeah, that's gonna be so much fun and so much relief, I feel, in this, like in those times, to actually have a place where you can go back to consistently, having people that you know and be able to share your heart in a way that's a bit less structured, but like more to the point, to the art. Like you can really share what's on your heart, you can be seen, you can be mirrored, you can be accountable. So I feel that's so needed. So if you have any question about that new container, please feel free to reach out to by email to Crystal, but also like just in the chat while we're there, right?
Yes, thank you. And you're so welcome. I hope it was helpful for you. Love talking about nitpicking. I could talk about this one. I was like thinking about it. I was like, I could talk about this one forever.
Yeah, it's a
Good
very
one.
big one. And especially because I was thinking that it can brings a lot of difficult emotion. I know sometimes people feel mostly irritation and anger. For me, it was also a lot of guilt and shame. So that's a big one. And I think that's one reason why we have created this home, this new like online community of support that you can add to your ROCD Academy experiences, because shame is such a pervasive and such a difficult experience to live on your own. And those circles and those group work have shown how much connecting with people that are like-minded and have the same experience as you like relieve so much of the double pain that you add on top of like experiencing OCD, which is to shame yourself for those very human and very like intrusive stuff. So yeah, that's why it's so cool to have these groups.
It is. Thank you. All right. I'm not seeing anyone else commenting or anything else coming through. So I think we're going to end this for today. So happy to be here, you guys. Yeah, Yana, I love it. Totally. Yes, you guys are not alone in everything that you experience, just as a reminder for that. I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you for being here. It's really important to keep showing up to classes that are intriguing to you because you're going to learn something and learn something really important in your journey. And yeah, you're being really courageous for coming in and doing things that are really difficult. So make sure you give yourself that pat on the back, that hug, that love, because this is really important work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You are joining Awaken to Love Home. We will see you on August 5th. If you guys have any questions about it,
Yeah.
us support at awakenintolove.com.
Yeah, great. And first session is free, so really guys take advantage of it. There's no like back plan like stuff. You just like, if you don't want to stay, you cancel and you're not going to be charged. It's really like free session for everyone to start the program. Really want everyone to be able to experience at least one circle of community for free. If you stay, you don't stay, that's totally okay, but like join us. We'll be so happy to have you.
Thanks, Manon. Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad it was helpful. Hey guys, we're so excited to be here to announce something really special for this community and for the KIC community specifically. We are launching a whole new community called Awaken into Love Home. It's a peer support program, all designed by Manon and I, and moderators to help support you in your journey with relationship OCD. So we're going to be talking about this whole new circle for the next couple of minutes. I really invite you to listen to this because this is a really special thing that is coming. And it is just something so near and dear to our hearts, something that I wish I had when I had ROCD, and something that's really important for you to hear. So I invite you to listen for the next couple minutes as we talk about this really special thing that we are offering.
Yay. Hey guys. It's Manon, the Awaken to Love director. I'm so glad to be there and to be leading this like future program very soon to be crowned with Kiyomi. So basically, what is Home? Home is an online community with people suffering from ROCD and relationship anxiety, just like you. And Awaken to Love trained moderators. We'll start with Kiyomi and I for this first cohort that have been like personally through it, and we'll make sure it's a reassurance, like seeking free zone and a very safe area for all of you. We'll meet every week on Zoom for 60 minutes to share our hearts and have basically answers or like ROCD talks. So that's very exciting.
So a lot of people are curious about when it is going to happen. So we will actually be starting August 5th, which is in about a week and a half. The really important, really cool thing about this is that the first session is free. So it is completely free. There's no like something on the side that you don't know about. The only thing is that if you don't want to be a part of it anymore, you have to cancel your membership. But trying just the first one for free, just seeing if it aligns with you, seeing if you like it, we are giving that opportunity for people just to see if they want to be a part of this or not. So again, it is starting August 5th. The first one is going to be at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Again, the first session is going to be free. And if you want to try, you can cancel anytime, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. If you don't want to stay, which we hope because we love that container and we trust that it's going to be like a game changer for so many of you, the price is $79.99 per month, which means less than $20 per session to actually belong to a supportive, safe, ROCD informed and shame-free community, which is so close to our hearts.
Yeah, amazing. The one thing that I did want to talk about just briefly is why. Why did we start this container? Especially because we do already have the ROCD course and community. So what's different about it? We have noticed at Awaken into Love, especially with me being a part of Awaken into Love, having Awaken into Love for almost 10 years, Manon being a part of it for many years as well, that we've noticed people who have the greatest success with ROCD and intimacy and love within their partnership are usually a part of a community. On top of that, a community where they meet with people, where they talk virtually or in person with people, but from people who understand ROCD and relationship anxiety. So a consistent container where people meet with other people to talk everything and anything about ROCD, we have noticed in our community specifically a very high rate of success. We've also noticed, and we probably all know this, that there's an epidemic of loneliness all across the world, but specifically for people who have ROCD and relationship anxiety. If you experience any guilt, if you experience any shame, then really coming into a community of people who hear you, who understand, actually tends to eliminate and decrease the guilt and shame. So you can actually approach your intimate relationships with your partner and people around you in a more empowered and peaceful way. So we've really noticed that to be really, really crucial. Obviously, there's other reasons as to why we've created this community. One reason as to really fostering this place of belonging, a place where people can come and finally feel heard for the first time. Awaken into Love has decided, or we have decided, to create this program of Awaken into Love Home, because we believe that everyone should be able to talk about the things that scare them the most at home. But that's really hard for people with RSD, which is why we are creating it virtually, a place to come and talk about what's on your heart, completely uncensored, with ROCD and relationship anxiety, having accountability, being with people who are motivational for you, having times where we know will happen when we have breakup urges, where we get to come online and someone says, someone gives us something motivational and we decide, oh, okay, I'm going to keep going. I got this. And they get over that hump, which is so, so, so powerful. So again, there's so many reasons as to why we've created this, but the biggest part, because it is so needed. We know that it is so needed, and we create things that we wish we had when we had our RCD. And so we're so excited about this. So if you guys have any questions about this container, please email us at support@awakenintolove.com. We're here to support you. It is going to be a intimate container, so there's not going to be that many people in it, so we are limiting it, and we are also keeping it confidential, which means that there will be no replays, specifically because we want to really make it a sacred and safe space. So that is our intention. So again, if you have any questions, email us at support@awakenintolove.com, and we'll be starting really, really soon.
Yeah, we'll see you at home. Like, last little side
Yeah.
on that, like that home, we choose very intentionally that name because we wanted to make it for you to feel like a home, like a living room with like cozy tea, like a dim light, and like being on this like comfortable couches with people. We understand you, you feel safe, like you're entering your home of support, your heart, and like that makes us so happy. I'm so excited, and I'm sure Kiyomi too, about like meeting you guys very soon, and created this deep and sacred bond with each other, which is so needed at the moment, I feel.
So needed. Yes. We'll see you guys soon. Any questions, let us know. And we'll see you in August.